Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. It's good to have you on the show. Good to have you here on a Friday. Week 1 is officially underway. The NFL season is officially underway.
It's been great. I thought last night's game was one of the better games I've seen in a long time.
No, it was
an excellent game.
Well, it started off a bit rough, and we're going to get into it, both sides, Chiefs and Ravens, but when it came down to it, likely he could not get the toe drag swag, as they call it. Toe tap, couldn't get it down. So Chiefs end up winning 27-20. But let's jump right into that game, actually, because let's talk about the Chiefs side. So the Chiefs were able to actually get a very tight, very, very close victory with Xavier Worthy, their first-round rookie, scoring 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, as well as 1 receiving touchdown. Mahomes had 1 pretty ugly interception, but all around played a very, very efficient game, and they took care of the Baltimore Ravens defense pretty handily early in the game, and the defense showed up big, making Lamar Jackson scramble most of the time and also dink and dunk his way to what ultimately ended up being a very close game. But I want to know, what was your takeaway from the Kansas City Chiefs last night?
I think it's more of the same of last year, and I think maybe they ought to be a little bit worried about that. They looked a lot like last year. Offensive mistakes covered by a smothering defense. The offense, the drop balls, holding penalties. There was an interception. Mahomes, 20 of 28, 291 yards, 2 TDs. He could have had another interception. He got lucky, caught his own deflection of a pass on a 3rd down that would have been a big play for the Ravens if they could have intercepted that ball. Worthy looks like a star. 2 TDs, 1 rushing, 1 passing. He was wide open on that on the passing one. That was a blown defense on that one. He got lucky on that one. I think Mahomes looked over there and said, "Wow, how could he be so open?" They just lobbed it over to him, and he walked into the end zone, basically. The running play was very nice, the way they set up the blocking for it. He zipped right through there. He's really fast. He looks really good. He wears number 1. I think that's the right number for him. So that's kind of my take on the Chiefs initially here. I have more to say, but I'd like to hear more what you have to say on them.
So the Kansas City Chiefs, they were one of the slowest offenses last year. You really had Rashee Rice and a broken down Travis Kelce during the regular season. This year, it's going to be completely different. And I'm going to keep saying this until proven wrong. We have to thank the Bills for, again, giving the Chiefs another win. Yes, well, it might not be exactly on a week-to-week basis the Bills giving the Chiefs a win when it comes down to Josh Allen losing to Mahomes. And the bigger picture is that the Bills traded away their first-round pick. They traded back and gave the Chiefs an opportunity to draft Xavier Worthy. So that is a massive loss for the Bills because they had an opportunity to draft Xavier Worthy. But instead, we're back to the 2018 Chiefs, the high-flying Chiefs. Because what we saw yesterday is, yes, while Xavier Worthy may be like 175 pounds soaking wet, on that jet sweep play, the end-around play, there were like 8 blockers ready there. It's a stone wall. It's an entire unit moving to help out Xavier Worthy, who, by the way, that touchdown felt like if you blink, it'll be from when he gets the ball and then he's in the end zone. He's that quick. But can we understand something here? The Chiefs' defense, I can't decide whether or not it's just how dominant the Chiefs were on defense or how horrible game plan-wise was the Ravens' offensive scheme. It was dink and dunk the entire game. And yes, it's very frustrating to go up against Lamar Jackson because he'll scramble a lot. But we have to realize they did a great job in the secondary. 100%. Your guy, you put a big target on, what's his name? Jalen Watson. You put a giant target on his back and said he needs to step up. He had a very good pass breakup late in the game against Zay Flowers in the 3rd quarter. He's making big-time plays. Trent McDuffie laid an absolute boom on Justice Hill. All around, this Chiefs team is going to look very, very similar to the way that the Chiefs looked back when they were a very, very quick offense because guess what? They now have a guy who I said when we were doing our mock drafts, that this Xavier Worthy guy, they're going to hone in on because he will give them that option of that deep threat, which they played a lot of shell coverage anyway, because Xavier Worthy could just blow right by them. So they had to play. So the Chiefs, they did less dinking and dunking, but it was more intermediate, mid-range throws and just tearing up the Baltimore Ravens defense.
Yeah, I think that Worthy gives them the stretch option. He runs down the field, and that opens it up underneath for Rice and Kelsey. And you saw some of that last night. You saw Rice actually on the first play of the game. He caught that quick slant in. That was a very nice play. Rice had, let's see, what did he have? He had 7 catches for 107 yards. He had a very good game. Worthy, two catches for 47 yards, a TD, and that 21-yard rushing TD. Kelsey, 3 catches for 34 yards, so not that much for him. But that's the kind of passing game they were playing. They shoot Worthy down the field, opens up underneath. Rasheed Rice, 7 receptions, 107 yards. That's a nice strategy. And the running game, Pacheco, 15 rushes for 45 yards and a TD. He looked pretty good. I mentioned the passing game for Mahomes. He had a pretty good game. Although I think the defense really was what won the game for them, and I think it's the offensive line for the Ravens that lost the game for them. I think the Chiefs' defensive line looked like world beaters out there. Really, are they really that good? I'm not so sure. I think it's more the Ravens' offensive line with new pieces in there that really have not gelled yet. And it was Lamar that really the offense flowed through him. He got back there, and the defense was back there waiting for him, basically. And he zipped around and scrambled and gained a lot of yards. He had his rushing yards were
122,
122 yards rushing. He looked great. I must say, he was 26 of 41, 273 yards, 1 TD, 16 carries for 122 yards. Without him, they wouldn't have been anywhere near in this game. He looks like the MVP again. I hope that the offensive line can gel a little bit better, because I could see the Chiefs and the Ravens playing again in the NFC Championship game.
Well, that's exactly what Isaiah likely said post-game.
AFC Championship.
Likely said, good luck in the postseason, which is horrible going up against this team. We've seen other teams call out the Chiefs, calling it Burrowhead, and now be prepared. Good luck in the postseason. Stop giving the Chiefs bulletin board material. Stop it. They take that literally, and they use it against you. So maybe not. Maybe don't do that. The Ravens in this game, everybody is making fun of Patrick Mahomes. They had the Kermit the Frog puppet or whatever the case may be. Stop giving the Chiefs bulletin board material, because they're going to use it against you. They have the best head coach in the NFL, the best quarterback in the NFL, the best tight end in the NFL. They have the best interior defender in the NFL. Stop giving them bulletin board material. You're not a team that could beat them. Lamar Jackson is garbage against the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought that this would be a revenge game for Lamar, and I was very, very wrong. But let's also throw this out here. This game should have been much more of a dominant victory for the Chiefs than the final score shows. Because we have to remember, there was one play that Isaiah Pacheco had a very bad drop in the second quarter that would have been a wide open touchdown. Wide open. There was nobody even on the screen when Pacheco dropped that football. So I think we need to realize that there were several opportunities for the Chiefs to score many more points. But yes, Patrick Mahomes did not have he had a very, I would say, a non-characteristic throw. Let's take a look at this interception here. He get pressured up the middle, tries to roll. I mean, that's just a bad throw. And even then, they showed the all 22 of this on the broadcast. Even if he threw it to Rasheed Rice, Roquan Smith was right there anyway. I think that would have been picked off regardless. That's just a bad play. That is a uncharacteristic throw.
He should have eaten it.
Absolutely. And yes, the other interception, I mean, Mahomes, what he did just to get up there, he was up against 2 Ravens defenders off that batted pass. To be able to jump and get it over there and haul it down instead of it being picked off. And by the way, that would have gave the Ravens the 2-minute warning, a timeout, and like 2:20 left in the game. Instead, they were able to get it beyond the 2-minute warning, only leaving the Ravens with 1 timeout. I believe. It may be no timeouts, but you still had that 2-minute warning anyway if the Ravens did pick that off, and they would have had great field position. So they could have ran the clock right down and scored a touchdown, and then we saw John Harbaugh, he wanted to go for 2 anyway. So there was a high likelihood that no matter what, even if they scored a touchdown, the Ravens were going for the victory over sending it to overtime, which is the good idea because your offensive line was terrible. Your defense could not stop Mahomes in the short in-cut routes. I mean, Rashee Rice was tearing it up against those Ravens linebackers. They could not stop him at all.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to get better. I mean, I thought they played well last night, actually, except for the offensive line. I mean, they did have 452 yards. The Chiefs had 353. They had 25 first downs. The Chiefs had 21. They were 7 for 14 on third down conversions. The Chiefs were 4 for 9. So their offense actually overall was better, despite the fact that the offensive line could not control the Chiefs' defensive pass rush. So that if that improves, I think that next time around, I see these two teams meeting again in the AFC Championship. I'd just like to go over that last drive for a second, which was a great drive. I mean, the Ravens took over on their own 13-yard line, only a minute 50 left. A 2-minute warning was gone. They didn't have that to help them out. They managed to move the ball down the field with this guy Likely. I think that now the Ravens, with him as a tight end and with the other tight end?
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews. Those two guys, bookends. Keep them in the game together the whole time. It helps with the blocking, and it also, both of them are great pass receivers. I think it reminds me of the Patriots back with Gronk and Hernandez, right? And that could be big for them. I just see them have an opportunity to get better. And they're playing on the road in Kansas City. That's a very tough place to play. I think that last drive, getting down the field, passing to Likely until you got that 38-yard pass to Bateman, it got you to the 10-yard line with 43 seconds left. Jackson missed Likely in the end zone, and then he missed what I thought was a pass to Flowers, but you say it was back to Bateman, who didn't run the right route just right. So, but it's unfortunate because they had those two opportunities right there to score. And then with 5 seconds left, Lamar running around trying to avoid tacklers who, again, were in the backfield, ran the clock down to, it was 0. The clock had run out, managed to throw that 50-50 ball to Likely, who jumped up, made a fantastic catch, missed a touchdown by just a toe, just his toe. And as Mahomes said, if you'd been wearing white shoes, you might have gotten the call. But I don't think so. I think they would have seen that his toe was over the line. It was clearly over the line, but just by a toe.
Yeah.
What a game.
Absolutely.
It was a great game. Everyone got their money's worth out of that one.
Well, let's actually talk about the Ravens side with this because there's a lot to say about it. So on that last play, Lamar Jackson talked about it because that final drive, those last two plays were very poor. A lot of people agree that Lamar did not play his best football when it mattered the most in that game, very late in that game. Now, this is Lamar Jackson talking about that last throw where it was to Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Take a listen to what he had to say on that last throw, which ultimately ended up being the penultimate play of this game.
It was, I went scramble. I see Chris Jones was on Justice Hill. Justice Hill was blocking Chris Jones, so I was trying to help Justice out, and I tried to get out of the pocket, and I seen Bateman, like, flying across, so I'm thinking Bateman going to stop. And as I'm throwing the ball, I see Zay flying across. I'm like, that wasn't intended for Zay Flowers. So, yeah, I was teed off about that because I'm like, if I would have held on to it a little bit more, I would have just fired it to Zay for the touchdown.
So you didn't see it until the very end?
Yeah, like when I threw the ball, I seen him. I'm like I want to say something else, but I'm like, damn.
So the play in question is this one right here. He's saying that if Rashad Bateman would just settle instead of, and that's the throw by, and this is the back angle this is the all-22 originally. If Bateman just moves to his right, that could be a touchdown. If he also threw in the same Flowers, that would have been a touchdown. So I feel like it was kind of indecisive because that throw wasn't very close to Bateman at all.
No.
But I want to know, though, if you were to give a grade to Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson's performance in Week 1, what grade would you give him?
A.
A. Ooh.
I give him A because without him, they wouldn't have been anywhere near in this game. He was running for his life on many of these plays, and he made something out of most of them. The fact that he missed those guys on those couple of pass plays at the end, he did get the ball too Likely, and with when time had run out, and it was just a less than an inch that would have got them the touchdown. I think his running skills, he was not afraid. He knew it was a revenge game. He was going to go all out. He wasn't trying to protect his body in any way, shape, or form. He had 122 yards rushing. He took some hits. He gave some hits. His passing was good. I think I give him an A. I give him an A for his performance. I actually think he outplayed Mahomes.
I think when you look at the effort put in, it made it look like, and stats show it obviously, that Lamar had to do everything. That's what it looked like. Your eyes told you Lamar is the Ravens offense. But it didn't have to be. Derrick Henry had 13 carries. I feel like I didn't see him in the second quarter. He was barely out there early in the game because what it looked like was that first drive, you handed off. Yes, he got stopped once or twice, but they kept going to him, and then ultimately he ended up scoring the game-opening touchdown. And I thought, okay, this is great. Keep it going. But instead, it had to be, Lamar Jackson trying to make something out of a lot of nothing. So the grade I'm going to give Lamar is a B-, because he missed a lot of deep throws. He went 1 of 5. 1 of 5 on deep shots. A lot of overthrows. A lot of way too far back left shoulder.
He was under a lot of pressure.
He was pressured less than Patrick Mahomes was. Lamar Jackson pressured on 29.4% of his dropbacks. Mahomes was pressured on 32.3%. And he was horrible. Absolutely garbage. 44% completion percentage, 63 yards. He was not great. And when it mattered most on that last drive, yes, he was able to get down.
From his own 13-yard line. He drove them all the way down the field with a minute 50 left and no 2-minute warning timeout.
I completely understand. He got there, but when it mattered most, this throw enraged me a lot, because any quarterback would put this on a line and rip it. Lamar Jackson floated it to Isaiah Likely. All you got to do, you have basically no pressure, step into your throw. If Mac Jones made that throw, you'd be like, why is he sending a rainbow shot? Just fire it in there. There is no defender that could pick that off if you just send it on a rope. He is wide open in the back of the end zone. Step into it, let it rip. That's a touchdown. And not only that, he got Likely hurt for a play or two. That's a hospital ball. That is, I'm going to take your feet out from under you and slam you into the ground. And then, obviously, we could bring up this play. I want to show this. Yeah, look at that. Wide open. Makes a simple zig route. Put it on a line. Why float it? And then, obviously, the Zay Flowers throw, which is not a pretty one by all means. Make up your mind. And there's so many things wrong with this play, and I'm going to get into it a little bit later. But you got to make up your mind. Rashad Bateman, even if you're throwing it to him, his back is turned, he doesn't see you, and he's going into a defender. Now, could that be wide receiver awareness? Like Kelsey's one of the best when it comes to awareness of finding the opening in the zone. He does that and that's why we think when Mahomes is dancing around in the pocket and then he throws it 35 yards, there's no one around Kelsey, because that's what he does. He just finds an opening. Bateman maybe doesn't have that type of awareness, but also give it a half second. Bateman's not even looking at you. Zay Flowers is coming over the middle, so you just gotta wait. Have a little bit more anticipation. Read the field. Bateman's not looking at you, so how can he know to sit on that? Because when you throw it, Bateman's just beginning to turn around. Doesn't even know what situation is happening in front of him. There are so many things wrong with this. But to give Lamar an A, I can't. Because there were a lot of missed opportunities here. And we talked, and I mentioned this in the previous topic. I'm hoping that the Chiefs just ruined the game plan of the Ravens, and their game and the original Ravens game plan was not throw it 0.8 air yards an attempt in the first half. That's what I'm hoping, because that's exactly what Lamar did. He had 0.8 yards, air yards.
That's because the pressure was on him in the first half.
I'm hoping that's the case.
It was.
But it seemed like so many
he
plays
was
were
scrambling. He was scrambling
dunk.
behind the line of scrimmage, and he was dunking. He was dinking and dunking because of it.
But what I'm saying is that, like, some of the plays that Todd Monken drew up, it seemed like it was already in the game plan to dish it off to Zay Flowers, dish it off to Justice Hill.
Yeah.
And you can't win like that.
Okay, well, I might be maybe a little generous, but I think that if without Lamar in that game, the score would have been 27-0. I don't think they would have even scored.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And the fact that he had 122 yards rushing, and with making it all that rushing was broken plays. He did it on his own. He created the spaces. He's so quick. I mean, when you look at how quick he is compared to Derrick Henry, looks like a slow bulldozer compared to Lamar Jackson.
Well, don't get in front of him because then you'll figure out exactly how much of a bulldozer he is.
250 pounds. They used him right down near the goal line. They gave him the ball, and he blew it into the end zone. Those are the right plays for him. Whether he's got that first step anymore, I'm not so sure. But Lamar certainly still has it. He looked like quick as a rabbit.
Well, I'll say this, and I don't have the clip up here, but if anyone wants to look at the game film, go for it. Second quarter, around the 11:30 mark, they dish it off to Zay Flowers, or it may have been a completion, and all Zay Flowers needs to do is run forward, and it's very close, or it is a first down. Instead, he's zigging and zagging. Yeah. Just keep going. Go forward, because then it's a first down, or at least it'll be an and one or inches. There were a lot of cuts, unnecessary cuts from a lot of these players. On the defensive side, because I wrote this down on Tuesday's show when we made this prediction of who's going to win this game. And I had some of the losses that they had. Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, Jadeveon Clowney, and defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. Did they not need a significant pass rusher like Jadeveon Clowney? Did they not need a good coverage linebacker like Patrick Queen? How about this? Losses on the offensive line. Lost offensive tackle Morgan Moses. You could have used that on the right tackle side. You could have desperately needed that. How about John Simpson interior? Chris Jones bulldozed anybody on the offensive line, and he would pick his spot. Oh, I want to terrorize you, and it doesn't matter. Lindenbaum, who was one of the top-rated centers last year, the holding call on Lamar's massive gain. He just plowed right through him. Yeah. That is a top-tier center in the NFL.
Despite all of that, it came down to a final play of the game.
Didn't have to.
And the Ravens started on their own 13-yard line to do that drive with only 1:50 left.
Yeah.
They had 3 shots at the end zone. They could have completed the first 2. I agree that Lamar maybe didn't throw the ball as well as he could have there. The third one, he did get it to him. It was a toe. Yep. The difference of a toe. And I guarantee you, if they'd gotten that score, you're right, they would have gone for 2 points. I'm pretty sure
that's what John Harbaugh went out. He said go for 2.
I would have predicted that they would have gotten it.
Maybe. But there's so many things wrong with this. The first one would be stop putting linebackers on a quick cutter like Rashee Rice. Who was it? You had Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson and also Malik Harrison guarding Rashee Rice and sometimes Xavier Worthy. And by the way, we talked about those in-cuts before to Rashee Rice early on. That was on Roquan Smith. That was on Trenton Simpson. Why are you putting a middle linebacker, first of all, a bad coverage middle linebacker, on a very, very fast receiver in Rashee Rice, who was making cut? And by the way, those were like line of scrimmage slant cuts that ended up being 10-yard gains. So there was no press coverage. There was no great coverage from the middle linebackers. There was none of that. And also, John Harbaugh calling 2 defensive timeouts in the third quarter. One with about 1.5 minutes into the third, you call a timeout. And then again at 6:29 in the third quarter, you're calling timeouts because of your defense?
Those are mistakes.
What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense to me.
They could have used those timeouts in the last drive.
And also, how about that? How about the middle of the field 4th down call? It would have worked if Nelson Aguilar could block a guy in front of him. Justin Reed didn't see Zay Flowers because Zay Flowers was squatting below his offensive lineman. Justin Reed went left. Zay Flowers went right, and all Nelson Aguilar needed to do was hold the first guy to block the first guy, and that's a first down. Instead, he just disregarded him. He just ran over to go after Justin Reed, who was completely out of the play. There was a lot wrong here. And then obviously, let's call out the obvious one. 11 penalties, 8 on offense, 5 illegal formations. Yeah. At some point, you have to realize, hey, Ronnie Stanley, move up a half step.
Yeah, well, listen to the rule. The rule is a little different this year, and now they were really enforcing it last night.
It's like your head needs to be in line with the belt of the center. That's what it needs to be. And Ronnie Stanley, move up a little bit. You got called for back-to-back illegal formations. I think 3 illegal formations within the first 4 or 5 plays of the game.
I think they were trying to find out what the rule really was, how they were going to play it.
Don't test it in the most crucial game that you might need to play, because history shows if you lose this game against an opponent that you played last season in the playoffs and lost to them at that point, you missed the playoffs nearly every single time.
I
And you
don't
have
think that's going to be the
1-500 record.
case. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think that
I'm telling you what
I think
history
the
says.
Ravens get better. It's the first game of the season. There's maybe a little rust. There's a little, getting used to each other. In the Ravens' case, more than the Chiefs because they have more new players. I think they acquitted themselves reasonably well. The game went down to the last second. In fact, the time had run out.
Yeah.
And they did make the pass play. It just missed by a toe.
It's unfortunate that happened because that game was so great. When it came down to it, the game was close. Like you said, I definitely agree. Fans got their money. It was a very, very good game. It's just frustrating when you see these mistakes that should not be made, especially for veterans and top-tier players like Ronnie Stanley.
Well, again, it's the first game of the season.
Right, but this is not some rookie. This is a multi-year veteran, a Pro Bowler. These are top-tier guys, top-rated guys. And yes, the offensive line, you have a rookie right tackle. Yes, that's rough. And you have a lot of pieces, brand new right, left guard, and as well as right tackle. But you got to get your at. And also, what's with the Ravens and having bad late hit penalties? Kyle Van Noy had one in the playoff game last year. You had another one this time. You should have gotten another one in the game. You had a roughing the passer. I thought John Harbaugh was supposed to be this coach that has smart football. I thought that was his big thing. He has the reputation of a head coach that coaches smart football, yet the Ravens in these big-time games make very dumb mistakes.
Well, he looked a little frustrated over on the sideline occasionally during the game last night with some of the mistakes.
I would be too, especially if I'm getting called for 5 penalties of the same kind. That would frustrate me too. All right, we're going to take a break, but coming up, is there a problem in Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson? Lingering injury? Is it time for Justin Fields to show up as well as later on in the show? It's once again the third year anniversary. We're bringing it back. Weekly picks as well as my Harvey Hot Hand. We'll talk about that right after this.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the content.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's week 1 time now. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. First show of week 1. We're breaking down Ravens Chiefs as we just did before, but it's time to get into some maybe bad news depending on your side, who you're rooting for if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, because yesterday it came out that Russell Wilson was limited in practice as well as he was limited today with calf tightness, But he gave an update to the media today, so take a listen to what he had to say about his injury status and his status for Sunday's game against Atlanta.
Yeah, I just felt a little tight. I just wanted to be smart about it. Obviously, play the game on Sunday. Hoping I get to be in it, obviously, but just trying to get ready to go. Yeah, I'm trying to get my body ready to go and rock and roll, so we're doing everything we can.
So I want to know, how big of a deal is this for Pittsburgh to potentially be forced to start Justin Fields over Russell Wilson against Atlanta in week 1?
Well, he's now iffy to start with the calf injury flare-up, and he's listed as questionable now. So that's pretty interesting going into the first game of the season when he was announced as the starter when he was traded for. He expressed optimism today, but remained non-committal about his status. He said, I just felt a little tight. I just wanted to be smart about it. Obviously, we play the game on Sunday. I'm hoping to be in it, obviously, but just trying to get ready to go. I'm trying to get my body ready to go and rock and roll, as you just heard him say. So we're doing everything that we can. He had an additional evaluation on Thursday that revealed good news about the severity of the aggravation. So I think it's probably likely that he'll be in there. But do they really want him in there? Is it really their wish to have Russell Wilson start this game on Sunday, or were they intrigued by Justin Fields and the way he played in the preseason, and would they be actually happy that they have the excuse to sit Russell Wilson and give Justin Fields the opportunity? Tomlin expressed confidence in Fields and his ability to get in there and play, and Fields said, I have the same process every week. I've learned since my rookie year how fast things can change. I always prepare like I'm going to be the starter. You just never know what can happen. It's interesting that Wilson initially hurt his calf on the eve of training camp during a new conditioning drill that the Steelers had when he took a rep hitting the sled. Now, how often does a quarterback hit the sled? That's obviously was a mistake. They should not do something like that with a quarterback, particularly one who's 35 years old and just getting into camp. That's a rep that I'm sure he's never done before, and now this injury is lingering. And then he didn't throw a pass in live action in the team for 10 practices, and he missed the first preseason game. I think he's rusty. He did play a little bit in the last preseason game, one drive, and they scored. He threw a couple of passes and looked okay, but nobody really knows. It's a really small sample size for him with the Steelers. Said he's very fortunate not to have many injuries in his career. It's unfortunate that he got the calf injury, but he's responding, and that's all he can do. Because of his preseason work with the starters and the work with them earlier this week and on Friday, Fields says he's ready to go to lead the group on Sunday if he's called upon. And he feels comfortable with all the players, and they feel comfortable with him. So do the Steelers really want Russell Wilson in there, or are they intrigued by Justin Fields and would love to see him start this game?
Well, I think that this is a massive deal. And to answer your question, I would say bring on Justin Fields, because I think we were both on the same side of this when Mike Tomlin was deciding who his quarterback should be for week one about a week ago after the third preseason game. And I think Justin Fields will get the start here. And I do think this is a big deal because I think Justin Fields gives them a better shot at beating the Falcons than Russell Wilson does. Because unless the Steelers want to play conservative football, dinking and dunking, check down, playing it safe, that's what Russell Wilson gives you. Does it provide a lot of success? We've seen the past couple years, not really. Roman Wilson's out for this week. I like Roman Wilson actually a lot, but I don't think his impact would have been massive in this game. So for me, that's not a huge loss. But when it comes down to overall talent and depth of your talent, in case Calvin Austin gets hurt, Van Jefferson tweaks something, Scotty Miller's not performing well, it could definitely affect you in that regard because you only have 5 receivers on your roster. So most teams have 6, 7 in the reserves. Now, I think this game will focus mainly on running the football, playing it safe, going ground and pound. Because you have Najee Harris and Jalen Warren and also Patterson as well, who's more of a return gadget guy. But I do think they're going to focus more on the run. And obviously, with Arthur Smith as your offensive coordinator, play action will also be a massive part of the scheme. Who, honestly, if we talk about the actual numbers and the legitimate data, Russell Wilson in 2023 ran play action much more efficiently and effectively than Justin Fields did. Although you could argue that talent-wise, it's a little bit different between the Broncos and the Bears. So I think when it comes down to it, I'm still picking the Falcons to win here no matter what. I think Kirk Cousins with the Falcons roster, I think it will not make that much of a difference when it's all said and done, if we're talking about wins and losses. But when it comes down to impact of how this will turn out, how the season or how the perception of these players will turn out, I think this is a massive boost for Justin Fields. Good for Justin Fields. I hope he does start. I hope he does succeed. And we have to remember, a lot of people hated me for my take on what his trade value should be. I nailed it. But I always knew that he's an incredibly talented player. He gives you more upside than Russell Wilson because we know both quarterbacks already. We've seen Justin Fields for 3 years. We've seen Russ for over a decade. We know what they are, largely. We have an idea of what Justin Fields is, and we know what Russ is. Although we might not know what Russ is right now because he looks very different than when he was in Seattle during his prime. When he came over to the Broncos in last year with Seattle, it looked pretty ugly. I think this is the Russ we're going to get. I don't think we're going to go back to 2014, 2012, 2013 Russ, where it was bombs away, rolling right, setting up a massive throw, because Russ doesn't do that anymore. And he was with Sean Payton, one of the better offensive coaches in the league. He made Jameis Winston go from 31 interceptions to, 14-3, I think it was, touchdown to interception ratio?
Yeah, but I don't think he played the whole year, right? Didn't he?
Right, no, he got hurt. But what I'm saying is that what we saw from Winston was he toned down the turnovers.
Yeah.
And somehow it came into Russ, and Russ was thinking and dunking. I'll reiterate this again. Only quarterback the past 2 years to have double digits in checkdown percentage. Yes, the numbers in a box score look great. Look at the games. You'll see when it comes down to going off script, when it comes down to the first drive or two, which is obviously you game plan, you say, okay, we're going to do this play then. When it's away from that, the second half in the fourth quarter, Russ takes a little bit of a dip when it matters the most. And that's because he's not 2014 Russ anymore. He's 2024 Russ. Or at least at then, he was 2023 Russ.
Who's injured.
Who's right now injured, dealing with an injury. Justin Fields could step in and just be efficient because we already saw him perform much better than Russ in the preseason.
I think the Steelers are intrigued with Justin Fields and what he can potentially do. The question mark with him is, will he turn the ball over? Will he cough it up? Will he fumble it? Will he throw interceptions?
Fumbling is the big problem.
And will he make mental mistakes out there on offense? I think he has a better chance of doing of having fewer mistakes in Arthur Smith's offense than he did with Eberflus and
Luke Getsy,
in Chicago with the Bears. And so I think they're intrigued by him. I think he showed that he can move the ball. He shows that he has a huge amount of athletic talent. If he can just play mistake-free football or close to it, going to be the start of the whole year.
You really think that Mike Tomlin would make Justin Fields a starter after saying
if he gets in there, if he winds up starting on Sunday and he wins this game, he'll start the next game. I'm pretty sure.
Wow, that is a massive
Why
prediction
wouldn't
from
he?
you.
Why
I
wouldn't
agree.
he?
I mean, I think he should start regardless if Russ is injured. Regardless,
Yeah.
I thought he should. We both, I think, thought he should have been the starter already.
Yeah, he played the best and he played well in the preseason. He showed that he's capable of doing it, and he deserves a chance, I think, and I think he's going to get it.
Well, this very well may be his one and maybe only shot. Maybe we'll see.
I don't think so.
But if the plan is to eventually put Justin Fields in, we've talked about this. Don't put him in week 11. Because those last few games, they're pretty brutal. I think it's time now. I do think it's time. We do this every single week during the NFL season. It is our weekly picks. Now, last year, we did okay. The win-loss was much better for you. You struggled with that in the first year. We did this back in 2022. Last year for me, just a little bit of data point, because you might be thinking, why should we listen to these guys? Why should we trust these guys? My win-loss last season was 65.37%. I'm now on a 2-year run, 65.0%.
Yeah.
05%, sorry. 65.05.
That's good. Well, I want you to know right now I'm 1,000%. I won last night. I'm 1-0. I haven't lost a game yet.
And I'm 0-1, so I'm at 0% right now. So it's not a great start. It broke my 3-0 streak, starting all the way back, Bucks Cowboys a couple years ago. But I believe it is time. I will start, as always, with the weekly picks. So let's begin with Friday night, tonight, Eagles, Packers. I got the Eagles winning and covering. I just think with that offensive line, yes, you lost Jason Kelce, but I think Cam Jurgens will do a perfectly fine job as your center. Jalen Hurts, we saw what the drop-off looked like. Nick Sirianni is on the hot seat. You have a brand new OC and DC. How will Kellen Moore do with Jalen Hurts? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see tonight in Brazil. But I do think the acquisition of Saquon Barkley will give you a tremendous boost in your offensive production. You also have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. You have Dallas Goedert. You still have a top-tier offensive line. Your defense should look better because you got arguably the 2 best defensive backs in the draft with Cooper DeJean as well as Quinion Mitchell. How the hell did you get those 2? I'm not entirely sure. The NFL completely passed on them. I still am shocked you were able to get those kinds of top-tier talent when you got them in the draft. So I'm going with the Eagles here, minus 2.5 point spread. I'll take in the win. The next one we just talked about is Steelers-Falcons. I'm going with the Falcons here. Kirk Cousins, we got Bijan Robinson, top-tier offensive line. Kyle Pitts, I think, will finally become what his potential was because it's hard to succeed with Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder and a broken-down Matt Ryan. I believe he was around with Matt Ryan. I could be wrong. But still, though, Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke as your recent quarterbacks. How many wide receivers could have a lot of success, or tight ends, or anyone really could have massive amounts of success when you have a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL? Not entirely sure. But also Drake London, you also have Darnell Mooney. You have a lot of talent offensively, and defensively, you have probably some of the better cornerbacks and safeties in the league with Jesse Bates, and you also got Justin Simmons, as well as acquiring Matt Judon from the Patriots. The defense will look much better than it did last year. The offense should look much better with Kirk Cousins at the quarterback spot. Falcons win and cover the minus 3.5 point spread. The next one, which actually I don't feel great in, but I'm going to pick them, Bills minus 6.5 over Arizona. I'll take it straight up. I'm doing quarterback here. A lot of quarterback because Josh Allen is better than Kyler Murray in any regard. There's not a single number, a single eye test you could tell me that Josh Allen is better than Kyler Murray. But I do think with Marvin Harrison compared to Keon Coleman or Shakir, you could be like, yeah, Marvin Harrison's probably better than both those receivers. I don't know about combined, but definitely better. Defensively on the Bills, that's where I'm a little bit worried. You lost a lot of key defensive pieces. Matt Milano's out. It's going to be very, very rough, but we'll see what Josh Allen looks like without top-tier talent because we already have a history of what he looks like without Stephon Diggs, and it's not great, but it was early on in his career, so we'll see. I'll take the better quarterback to win and cover. I'll go minus 6.5, Bills win and cover. Now, we're going against history here, because history says that first overall quarterbacks did not do very well, as well as rookie quarterbacks starting in week 1. Those 2 types of categories do not bode well for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. However, I'm going to go with them because, once again, this is about quarterbacks. Will Levis works the play action. If Spears and Pollard are taking 50-50 reps in the game, then I don't exactly love that because those running backs are not great running backs to begin with. And Will Levis last year worked his best under play action because you had Derrick Henry. I don't think the Bears, by the way, who had a top-tier defense, if not number 1, second half of the season, or at least post-Montez Sweat trade, I don't think that defense will give up a lot of rushing yards. So it'll be up to Will Levis to figure out how to run that offense. And I don't think he can do it that well, at least right now. I still think he needs a lot of time to develop because it came in after Ryan Tannehill, and it didn't look great. He did have a couple very nice moments, and we covered it on the show. But I'll give the Titans a lot of credit. They went out and got Calvin Ridley. They went and got Tyler Boyd. You also drafted J.C. Latham, which I thought was an interesting pick. But yeah, like they sort of tried to reinvent their offense a little bit. But that offensive line still gives me a little bit of pause. DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with an MCL injury still, which I'm pretty sure he's listed out. I think he's questionable right now, but my guess is he probably won't go. I'll give the Bears history goes against it. I'll give the Bears the win here and cover the minus 3.5 point spread. This one should be obvious, but I don't love it. The Cincinnati Bengals minus 7.5 point favorites over the New England Patriots. Jamar Chase listed himself as a game time decision over deciding whether or not he wants to play without a contract extension, yet he's still 2 years under contract for the Cincinnati Bengals. Strange. It also, T. Higgins, not looking good. He's listed as doubtful right now. So how will Joe Burrow do? He doesn't have Joe Mixon. Defense could be a little bit shaky. His number 1 and 2 wide receivers may be out. Don't love it, but this is all about quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett looked terrible. Garbage in the preseason. And that's against starters and sometimes even backups. So I'm going with the better team, better quarterback. Joe Burrow wins and covers the minus 7.5 point spread. I'm going one, and it's the same premise here. Houston Texans over the Indianapolis Colts. They're road favorites, minus 2.5 point favorites, and I'll take it. C.J. Stroud, along with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, an improved offensive line, a defense that added Daniil Hunter, as well as Will Anderson, Derek Stingley's healthy. There's a lot to love about the Houston Texans. We still don't fully know what the Anthony Richardson looks like because he's played 4 games in his NFL career. So I'm not sure what exactly I'm getting from Anthony Richardson besides what I already know, that he's going to be incredibly athletic, incredibly mobile, and use that to his advantage. Yes, the Colts did run all over the field against the Texans last year, but I think that CJ Stroud is settled. They improved their offense already, even though what the offense looked like last year, how can you improve on it? Well, you also got Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs and all that. So I'm going with the Houston Texans, get the road win over the Indianapolis Colts. The next one, Panthers at Saints, excuse me. Better team, Derek Carr. Derek Carr and the Saints are going to, I think, obliterate the Carolina Panthers. I think Dave Canales will do okay with Bryce Young, but I don't think Bryce Young's good really anyway. I don't think he'll be, considered a qualified first overall pick. He will not redeem the position he was drafted. And that's just unfortunate because, coming out of college, he was touted as one of the top-tier prospects to be another great first overall pick quarterback, and that just hasn't turned out to be the case. This offense, though, is not great. Chuba Hubbard as your running back, not great. Deontay Johnson as your receiver, that should be good. I think the Steelers would like to have him back, but they let him go. Adam Thielen's old. Jonathan Mingo as your wide receiver 3. Offensive line is still not that great. Defensive line, I don't love. You just lost Brian Burns to the Giants in this offseason. I don't love it. But you know what? Derek Carr is something to prove. He has a brand new OC. Mike Thomas is still dealing with an injury, but regardless, Alvin Kamara is healthy. I like this team a lot. I'll take the Saints to win and cover the -3.5 point spread. The next one, upset alert. I'm going Daniel Jones and the New York Giants to upset Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. I don't trust the Vikings offensive line. Yes, Christian Darrisaw, the left tackle, is very good, but I also don't trust the rest of that offensive line. I think with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and the rest of that defense, I think it's going to be great. That front seven, I think, should wreak havoc on Sam Darnold. We have to remember, this is the same quarterback that said he was seeing ghosts against New England when he was with the New York Jets and Sam Darnold. Don't love that. Yes, he looked okay with the Carolina Panthers, and he did okay with the San Francisco 49ers. He did lose to, I believe, Carson Wentz against the Rams, gave Kyle Shanahan his first loss against Sean McVay. However, I just think Daniel Jones just needs to dink and dunk. He has Devin Singletary. He has a new reinvented offensive line, Malik Neighbors. I don't love that you lost Darren Waller, your tight end. You have to start Theo Johnson or Daniel Bellinger. But that defense, right, that's what the Giants are harking on. Battle through the trenches, win through the trenches. Low-scoring game. Giants get the upset and obviously cover the +1.5 point spread. The next one, Raiders at Chargers. This is Jim Harbaugh's comeback to the NFL game. He was a winner with San Francisco. He was a winner everywhere he was in college, and I think he'll do wonders for this Chargers team. I'm not saying they're going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon, but can the Chargers look much better, and their defense, which is on paper insane, can they live up to what the paper says, which should be a lot of talent that underperforms? They should, because that's all what Jim Harbaugh does. Ground and pound and physical defense. That's exactly what the Chargers are built to do, and I think that's exactly what they will do. The offensive line, yes, Colton Miller is a pretty good offensive tackle for the Raiders, but they have no running back. They have no quarterback. They have no rest of the offensive line that's great. Yes, you have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. You also have Devontae Adams. And if you want to throw it, I still appreciate him a lot, Jacoby Myers. But, I mean, let's be honest here. The Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL. I've said this and I'm sticking to it. They have a bottom 3 quarterback in the NFL. It was literally, which is the better of the worst tiers of quarterbacks? Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Zamir White is not going to tear through this defense. I trust Jim Harbaugh's coaching. This defense should look better. All Justin Herbert needs to do is just get it to the open guy. Hand the ball off if you want to Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins and let them work. People are healthy, relatively. Justin Herbert did just come back from his injury. I just trust the quarterback. Who's the better quarterback? Justin Herbert over Gardner Minshew every day of the week. Next one. This one's the crazy one, and I'll leave in a minute. This one might ruin my credibility here to the viewers, if you do care for my opinion. I'm going Bo Nix over the Seattle Seahawks. I'm taking the Broncos to upset the Seahawks here. I've had this conversation with one of my friends for a little over a week now about this game. I like it a lot. I trust Bo Nix because what Bo Nix does is exactly what Sean Payton loves. Efficient, safe football. Yes, while Russell Wilson played safe football, wasn't that efficient. Bo Nix understands offenses. He's played 61 college games. He was incredibly efficient in college. He had a 77% completion percentage his last year in Oregon. And all he needs to do is just remain the same. He was 23 of 30 in the preseason. I really like Bo Nix. A lot of people are down on him. A lot of people are saying that the Broncos could be a top 4 pick in this draft. I'm saying they're going to be a little bit better than that. I'm saying 7-10. And it starts with a massive upset. By the way, we have to realize that a couple years ago, Russell Wilson's first game with the Denver Broncos was against the Seattle Seahawks. This is the Broncos' revenge game against the Seahawks. I'll take the Broncos to upset the Seahawks and cover, obviously, the plus 5.5 point spread. Let's go to the next one. Cowboys over Browns. The Browns are favored in this game? How? Yes, I understand Myles Garrett and what last year was the number 1 rated defense, but Deshaun Watson's your quarterback. Deshaun Watson, since entering Cleveland, has a sub 60% completion percentage. He's not a good quarterback. So how the stats broke down was incompletions, overall incompletions. Deshaun Watson led the league in own inaccuracy. It wasn't pressure. It wasn't offensive line. It wasn't running the wrong route. It wasn't against certain kinds of coverage. No, it was due to his own inaccuracy, which was the reason for his incompletions. 44% of them, nearly half. So I don't understand. And also, Nick Chubb's out. When the Browns were out there with Deshaun Watson, they won a lot because they were running the football. They had the most carries when Deshaun Watson was out there. So I'm going with the Cowboys here. Dak Prescott's playing for a contract and playing for his reputation. Mike McCarthy's coaching potentially for a job. CeeDee Lamb just got paid. There's a lot to prove here. Micah Parsons is also playing for a potential extension coming up. There's a lot the Cowboys need to do here. There's a lot riding on this year. Dak Prescott's going for MVP revenge. I'm going Cowboys upset over the Browns. How is this a plus 2.5 point spread? I don't understand it. Next one. I was really tempted to pick Washington here, but I just think that the Baker Mayfield, their offense is better than the Washington offense. I think Baker Mayfield will come out and do relatively the same as last year when it comes to just playing good football. Todd Bowles, great job defensively. I think, they lost Shaq Barrett, they lost Devin White, and they also lost Carlton Davis. I don't love those losses, but I think overall, Todd Bowles will get the job done. I really believe in Todd Bowles. He shocked me. Now, we've said on the show, even with Josh McDaniels, there's some coaches, some head coaches, that are just better coordinators. And I think, really, I have to take that back for Todd Bowles. What he did, and maybe it is Dave Canales as the offensive coordinator. Maybe that is the case. But I think what we saw with Baker last year is, the defense didn't have the kind of talent fully that it had in the past. Right? It didn't have the top-tier name guys even when Brady was there with the Buccaneers. But they were able to make it to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield, who got shoved around the NFL. This is his 4th team. And now they won a playoff game, too, against the Philadelphia Eagles, who they had insane amounts of talent and made them look pedestrian. Baker Mayfield got a 3-year deal. He's respected again. He went from this cocky guy doing progressive commercials to now being a legitimate, you felt bad for him when he got to Tampa Bay, and then he proved his worth and got an extension. So I'm going with the Bucs. Start out great. They get a win here. They got snubbed last year, I believe. I could be right. I think Minnesota ended up losing. They lost that game. So Baker upset Kirk Cousins last year, and that team had Justin Jefferson. Now going up against Washington with no wide receiver 2, offensive line that's poor, defense that should be okay but not great. Mike Evans going against guys who are not that great. They have one of the lowest rated secondaries in the NFL. Baker Mayfield gets a win and covers a 3.5 point spread. Next one, Jaguars at Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins to win here. Defense is not that great for Jacksonville. Miami, however, look at that offense. The secondary for Jacksonville is rated bottom 10 in the league. And you have to go against Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Waddle in the backfield, Raheem Mostert, and Achane. And Tua Tagovailoa trying to prove his worth. He just got a big contract now. It's time to make it worth your while. Defense should be improved as well. Just gave Jalen Ramsey a massive extension, making him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. $24.1 million per year. So this team's going to be great. And by the way, Tua also starts off very well early in the year. September, I believe he has a 7-3 or a 7-4 record. I'll take Miami to win and cover the minus 3.5 point spread over Jacksonville. Next one, Rams at Lions. I'll take the Lions to win, Rams to cover. And I understand the Rams are dealing with a decent amount of injuries. It was bad. They keep losing guys, they're dropping players like flies out here. But I think this will just be a really non-defensive game. I think this is going to be a high-flying offense on either side because we saw what we saw what happened last year with the Lions and Dan Campbell, or rather, as we call him around here, Dan Gamble. And we also saw what the Rams did last year. They lost by 1 point last year to this exact team. So I am going to take the Lions to win again, but I do think this game will be a relatively close game. High-flying offenses all around. Rams cover, Lions win. And finally, Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers return game? I'm going to call this Aaron Rodgers' first game playing for the New York Jets. I'm not calling last year his first game because he played 4 plays. So we'll call this the inaugural game of Aaron Rodgers on the New York Jets against the San Francisco 49ers. Boy, that is a rough game. I'm taking the 49ers to win here, though. Ayuk got paid. Debo, this might be his last year, depending on what the 49ers want to do, although they did just restructure his contract. Christian McCaffrey, he's banged up a little bit. I'm sure he'll be near 100% and play this game. Trent Williams just got paid. He'll be out there. George Kittle's out there healthy. Defense is still great. I mean, this might be a low-scoring but exciting game because I think it could be deep shot, 50-50 ball. Who's coming down with it? Maybe an interception here and there. But last time we saw Aaron Rodgers, he went 8-9 with the Green Bay Packers, looked lost without Devontae Adams, and got eliminated from playoff contention, losing to a okay but not great Detroit Lions team. I'll take the Jets to lose. 49ers win and cover the minus 4.5 point spread. I'll admit, well, my record says I should do okay because I get what? Let's bring up the number again. Was it 60.5%? Was that my number? I don't have. Where's my sheet? It's 60.5%, I think, for my picks. Or 65%, excuse me. Don't feel great. But history says I'll do okay.
65% is not so bad.
It's pretty good. It's 2/3 correct. I don't know where my sheet went.
No,
yeah.
You're right. I heard you say it before.
Yeah, no, 65.37% last year, and I started 13-3 in week 1. I think you went 12-4. So right now it's not starting off great. I'm 0-1, but it should be an exciting week of football. A lot of really good games. Texans, Colts, I think will be a good game. Rams, Lions, 49ers, Jets. A lot of good games. But it's time now. Your week 1 picks begin.
Okay. Thanks, Nate. I'm happy I won the first game last night. Very exciting game. We went through it in a lot of detail. Nothing more I need to say about that other than I'm happy I won. Game 2, Green Bay at the Eagles. This game, I see you picked the Eagles, Nate. I'm going to pick Green Bay. I like Green Bay. I think that it's a neutral field. They're playing in Brazil. Yeah. I mean, how many Eagles fans are going to be in Brazil for this game? There's going to be a bunch of people from Rio de Janeiro at the game. I don't know how they know whether they're rooting for the Eagles or for the Green Bay Packers. I wonder about Philly's defense a little bit. I mean, it looked terrible the last 6 or 7 games of the season last year. Has it really improved? Nobody really knows. We'll find out because the Green Bay Packers have an offense that is rated number 7 this year, and their defense is rated number 15, while the Eagles' offense is rated number 12, and their defense is rated number 21. So the Green Bay Packers look better on paper, and they have Jordan Love now, who had a fantastic second half of the year last year, coming into, and his receiver core, who really gelled after the midpoint of last year, and they showed it. They're going to be coming out here now with a lot of confidence, playing a lot better early in the season. I like Green Bay plus 2.5. The next game, the Falcons and the Steelers. Steelers at the Falcons. I'm going to pick an upset here, Nate. I like the Steelers' chances against the Falcons for a couple of reasons. Mostly Kirk Cousins, who hasn't played at all since he was injured in Week 8 last year with a very serious Achilles injury on his plant foot. And whether that will hold up or not, or whether he's going to be favoring it, I think that's a question mark. Also, it's a brand new offense. He hasn't played a snap in the preseason. I'm sure he got a lot of practice in, but that's a lot different. This will be his first action since Week 8 last year, and he didn't play anything. He wasn't on the field at all in the preseason. The Steelers have a very strong defense, ranked number 7 in the league. Cousins is 43-36-2 as a starter. Minnesota started 0-2 last year. His injury is to his plant foot. I think there's a lot of question marks about Kirk Cousins in this first game. You look at the Steelers' offense, number 24, not so great, but they have a new offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith. Nobody knows exactly, how they might come out and do. I mean, he favors the run. The Steelers have very good running backs. Their offensive line is decent. if they get Justin Fields in there, which I'm hoping for, and I got my fingers crossed for, they'll run that offense. They're going to run that sort of a Ravens-like type offense where Justin Fields he could run first and pass second. I think it could be very hard on the Falcons, whose offense is ranked 14 and their defense 21st. I think it could be an upset. I like the Steelers plus 3.5.
I got some. My mic on. I got a little bit of breaking news. According to Rap Sheet, Justin Fields is expected to start this Sunday for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
He's expected to start.
Very good. So that even makes my case a little bit more. Moving on to the Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. I like the Bills in this game. I think the Cardinals, nobody heard anything about them. Where the hell is Kyler
Under
Murray?
the radar.
Has anybody said a word about that guy? He might be a world beater. Who knows? But he's still, that ACL injury, he was coming back from it last year. He played okay near the end there, but still recovering from it. He should be fully recovered now. Their offense ranked number 22. Their defense ranked number 32. So I think the Bills will be able to handle that with Josh Allen as quarterback and an offense ranked number 11 and a defense ranked 17. I like the Bills to win this game and cover the spread at 6.5. Moving on to the Bears and the Titans. This is an exciting game for Bears fans as Caleb Williams makes his debut. He looked good in the preseason. A lot of excitement about him. The Titans, on the other hand, Will Levis, he played some last year. He seems to have a good deep ball, but as you said, Hopkins might not play in this game. The Titans have a terrible defense, 26th rank this year. Their offense isn't any better. It's ranked 25th. The Bears, on the other hand, they got a pretty good defense. They traded with the Washington Commanders to get Sweat last year. He played very well for them. They have the 16th ranked defense, and their offense is also ranked number 16. So it'll be interesting to watch Caleb Williams. I'll be anxious to see the highlights of that game. I like the Bears at 3.5. The Patriots and the Bengals. I'm a Patriots fan. I got my Patriots hat on this evening, but I'm afraid they're not going to win this game, and I don't think they can cover either. I think the Bengals are going to win. Minus 7.5. You got Joe Burrow coming back, very hungry. Hasn't played for. He was hurt last year a number of times, knocked out of the game, and didn't come back for the last 6 or 7 games. And that bothered him a lot. You could tell over on the sideline. They got the number 5 ranked offense. The defense is number 19. The Patriots ranked their offense ranked number
I think dead last
32.
Yeah,
dead last. It may not be that bad. We'll have to wait and see. I think if Drake May can get in there, that will improve a little bit. We'll see what Bistek can do. He was terrible in the preseason. The defense, on the other hand, ranked number 13. So maybe they keep the score within reach there. But I do think that the Bengals are going to win this game. The Texans and the Colts. I got the Texans on the road winning with the minus 2.5 point spread. The Texans, to me, are going to be a playoff team this year. Their offense ranked in the top 10. Their defense also ranked in the top 10. The Colts, on the other hand, Richardson, I'd say he's a rookie. I mean, he only played 4 games last year. I think it's going to be a long season for the Colts. Their offense ranked 18 and their defense 22nd. Richardson, basically a rookie. They're playing at home. Maybe it will be close for a while, but I think that C.J. Stroud could be an MVP candidate this year. I think that the Texans are going to beat him. Moving on to the Panthers at the Saints. I'm taking the Saints minus 3.5. The Saints have a terrible offense, but it's not as bad as the Panthers, who are ranked number 30. The difference in this game is going to be the defense, where the Saints have a decent defense, close to top 10, and the Panthers near the bottom. So I think that I like to see. I think Bryce Young is going to be the bounce quarterback this year. His stats are so terrible last year; he could only do better. And he has a coach now that is a very good quarterbacks coach. So I think he's going to have a much better season this year, but it won't be enough to beat the Saints on Sunday. Moving on to the Vikings and the Giants. I'm surprised you picked the Giants, given how critical you've been to them in the preseason, and always of Daniel Jones.
I got faith.
But you might be right, because Sam Darnold has shown that he is a very inconsistent player, and but he's got more weapons around him this year. He's got a lot of weapons, especially at the wide receiver core with Addison, Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson. Their offense is ranked 18th, and it's probably because of the quarterback situation. Their offense is ranked 28th, and their defense is ranked 18. I think that's a little bit of a low rank for their offense, given all those weapons at wide receiver, and the running backs are decent for them too. But the Giants, to me, wow, they rank 30th on defense and 31st on offense. I think the defensive line, as you mentioned, should be strong. And I think they'll put Darnold under a lot of pressure, but I do think that the Vikings are going to win on the road, cover that point spread at -1.5. Moving on to the Raiders and the Chargers. I like the Chargers in this game, -3.5, -3. I like Jim Harbaugh starting him back in the NFL. He's going to lead the Chargers, I think, to a low wild card playoff berth this year. I think with Justin Herbert there, he's going to learn a lot from playing for Harbaugh. He's going to have his best season yet. And I think that the Raiders with Gardner Minshew in there, could be a long season for them. They do have a decent defense, but I think that the Chargers offense is going to be more than they can handle in this first game. And the Chargers defense, even though it's ranked low, it's got some big name players on it. And with Harbaugh as their coach now, I think they'll perform up to their expectations. The Broncos and the Seahawks, I'd like to pick the Broncos, but I can't, because they're playing at the Seahawks Stadium, which is built in a way that keeps the noise inside the stadium. They call it the 11th player
12th
out there, because the noise is so great. I think that's going to rattle Bo Nix a little bit in his first game as a pro. And I do think that the Seahawks will win this game and cover. I like Geno Smith to have a decent game, managing the team well. I think Bo Nix, I'm rooting for him. I like him. I hope he plays well. I just don't think they're going to get the win on the road against the Seahawks, who will have that 12th player in the stands with them. I agree with you on the Cowboys-Browns game. How can the Browns be favored in this game? I just don't see it. The Cowboys have the number 3 ranked defense and the number 10 ranked offense, while the Browns have the number 1 ranked defense. Their offense is only ranked 17, and we got Deshaun Watson out there, who was proved last year that he may not be worth all that money he was guaranteed. And all the players on the Cowboys and coaching staff playing for their jobs this year, I think they're going to outperform. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a great season. CeeDee Lamb got his money. He's going to be out there playing well. Micah Parsons playing for a contract. Yeah, I like the Cowboys to win this game, and I'm looking forward to hearing Tom Brady in his first job as an announcer. Moving on to the Commanders and the Buccaneers. I like the Buccaneers in this game, principally because they're playing at home. Their offense and defense are both ranked low, but so are the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are going to be an interesting team to watch because of Jalen Daniels in there as a Heisman Trophy winner, and what could be somebody who can really improvise, which the Commanders are going to need because their offensive line is a sieve. I like the Buccaneers to win because they're at home. The Jaguars against the Dolphins. Dolphins have the number 2 ranked offense. They're playing at home. The defense is ranked 14. The Jaguars, I think, they're a good team. And I think that with Trevor Lawrence back and healthy, with his big contract, I think it's going to be a very close game. I am picking the Dolphins to win -3.5, but I could be wrong on this one. I think that it's possible the Jaguars could upset them on the road. Moving on to L.A. against the Detroit Lions. I like the Lions to win and cover. L.A.'s banged up. They got some injuries. Their defense is very questionable, ranked 23, while the Lions are ranked number 10. The Lions' offense ranked number 4. The L.A. Rams' offense ranked number 9. This is Stafford, Matthew Stafford heading back to Detroit again for a game which was very exciting in the playoffs last year with Dan Gamble pulling it out. Hopefully his gambles won't cost him a game on Sunday. I'm taking the Lions minus 4.5. And then the Monday night game, Jets at San Francisco. I like San Francisco minus 4.5. The San Francisco to me is just a much better team than the Jets, with a defense that's ranked in the top 5 and an offense that's ranked in the top 3. The Jets, on the other hand, their offense, who knows? It's going to be questionable with Aaron Rodgers out there coming back from his Achilles injury and only played 4 snaps last year. Been a long time since he played competitive ball out there. How will he play? It's a question mark. They have some nice weapons on offense, but remains to be seen. Their offense going into the season ranked at number 15. Those are my picks, Nate.
So we differ on the Packers, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Seahawks, and that's it. We're talking about just straight up win-loss. Obviously, the point spread's a little bit different. Okay, we'll have to wait and see. I think week 1 of football, it's going to be really good. All right, I think it's time, though. It is time that I begin, another edition of my Harvey Hot Hand. And the same thing with the picks. By the way, this is brought to you by Dr. Squatch. Link in the description, drsquatch.com/Nathan Harvey. You get $10 off orders of $20 or more. Thank you for supporting the channel and what we do here at the Harvey Hour. You might be thinking, you're some random guy on the internet. Why should we trust your picks for the best bets of each week? Well, here's a little bit of the data for you. So in 2023, last year, I went 52, 32, and 6. That's 61.11%. I would have returned you if you did $100 a week. So $20 on each of these bets. You would have returned $200 back in your pocket. You would have made a over $200 profit. There's a little bit of the data for you. That's the raw data. The numbers were crunched. That is what you could win here. 61%. And on average, you need about 52% on most sports books to get a profit. I'm at 61%. I'm not calling myself an expert. Could it be lucky? Could have just been that year? Very well could have been. But I feel confident that I can return you guys some money if you care about my picks at all. So this is the Harvey Hot Hand. I pick the 5 teams, or the 5 games, and the 5 teams that you should bet on for each week. So let's begin with the week 1 Harvey Hot Hand with game 1.
Cowboys at Browns.
I got the Cowboys here, and for some reason, this is a underdog pick for the Cowboys. I'm not entirely sure. I do not trust Deshaun Watson at all. He had, in the NFL, the most incompletions due to his own inaccuracy. His own inaccuracy. It's not because of good defensive coverage, and not because of a broken down offensive line. It's not because of the scheme. It's due to his own ability, or lack thereof, to throw the football and complete the pass. So I'm not trusting Deshaun Watson whatsoever. And in those games he played last year, they went 5-1. Yes, great record. They also averaged the most carries per game and had the most carries in the NFL during that span, with Nick Chubb out there for a number of those games. I don't think Jerome Ford is going to give you the same level of production that Nick Chubb would. And I think really the Cowboys have something to prove. Dak Prescott's playing for a contract. He's also needing his MVP revenge. He was the runner-up for MVP last year and probably played his best football of his entire career. I'm saying he comes back strong. CeeDee Lamb, he got his contract. I think Micah Parsons is going to be playing for an extension as well. Jerry Jones needs to get something going, and a great start to the season would be to get a win over the Cleveland Browns. I'll take the Cowboys to upset the Browns, win 27-24, and obviously cover the plus 2.5 point spread. The next one.
Steelers at Falcons.
This one just got a little bit better, I think. The Atlanta Falcons will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about this. It'll be Russell Wilson, who was limited in practice. It looks like Justin Fields will be the starter, but we know what Justin Fields is. In the fourth quarter, when he's winning, he becomes a garbage quarterback. I don't think he will be winning at all. At any point in this game, maybe on the opening drive if they get the ball first. But think about the talent difference that Atlanta has versus Pittsburgh has. Think about this. Atlanta has Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, and A.J. Terrell on the defensive side. And that's just as cornerbacks and defensive backs. And also they have Matt Judon on the defensive front seven. They are going to terrorize a Pittsburgh offensive line that was rated middle of the pack to below 10 last year. The Falcons have a top 3 offensive line. They have Kirk Cousins over Desmond Ridder, and they still went 7-10. I don't trust the Pittsburgh Steelers at all. I'll say Kirk Cousins, he may be a little bit rusty, but if he's rusty, hand it off to Bijan Robinson, who probably will be a top-tier running back. Already is a very, very good running back, but will be this year a top-tier running back in the NFL. Think about this. Kirk Cousins excel with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and also with T.J. Hawkinson. He has a version of that. I'm not saying it's anywhere close, but he still has that type of talent where you have a good wide receiver 1, a pretty good wide receiver 2, and an effective tight end. Also had a pretty good running back most of the time, Dalvin Cook, and now he has Bijan Robinson. I'll take the Falcons to win and cover the -3.5 point spread. The Falcons win 23-17.
Texans at Colts.
This one is a little bit of a risky one, but I'll take it. Texans -2.5 point favorites over the Indianapolis Colts. I'm taking just who's the better team in general. C.J. Stroud last year shocked a lot of people, besides me, because I knew C.J. Stroud should have been the first overall pick, but did I expect him at MVP level midway through the season? No, I did not, but he played extremely, extremely well, so much so I have him in my top 10 quarterback list, and he's basically near the top 5 already, and he's only played one single season. But think about this. If we take a look at the talent, Josh Downs is out for the Indianapolis Colts. So they have Jonathan Taylor and they have Michael Pittman. Those are your 2 big guys, and they also have A.D. Mitchell as well. I'll throw that out there. But Anthony Richardson, we haven't really even seen him. He's played 4 games, and we already know kind of what he is, an extremely athletic quarterback who takes a lot of hits and is pretty inaccurate with the football. Although, you take a look at the Houston Texans side, they upgraded their offense, which was already a good offense. You got Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon, an improving offensive line. Defensively, you have Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Derek Stingley, who's healthy. I mean, I can go down the list here. DeMeco Ryans seems like a great head coach already. I'm going with the better quarterback, the better built team, and really, if it comes down to it, who throws a better pass? That is indeed C.J. Stroud, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL already, currently, and this is only his sophomore season. I understand sophomore slump's a real thing, but now when it comes down to this, I'll take C.J. Stroud to beat out the Indianapolis Colts, and win 28-24, cover the 2.5 point spread on the road. Second to last one.
Rams at Lions.
This one's risky, and I understand, but I'm trusting it. I'm saying that this game is a high-scoring game. 2 offenses that are pretty good. Matt Stafford with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. You also drafted Blake Corum. There's a lot of pieces to love on the offensive side of the Los Angeles Rams. Offensively for the Detroit Lions, it's still great. You have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who combined for over 2,300 scrimmage yards and like 24, 25 touchdowns combined. You also have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, who is tight end 1, the best offensive line in the NFL. Your defense is improving, and yes, the Rams are dealing with injuries, but I think it's going to be a high-flying offense. I think this will be a high-scoring offense, but I do think it'll come down to a field goal, or in this case, a 4-point game. I'll take the Lions winning 35-31. However, the Rams do cover a plus 4.5 point spread. That was 3.5 yesterday when I actually placed the bet, so I'm kind of screwed in my own bet. But right now, if it's 4.5, who's saying that Matt Stafford can't go toe-to-toe when his defense is failing? He already did it in Detroit. He made the playoffs a couple times in Detroit when they had horrible rosters. I'm saying the same thing here with an improved Rams roster. I'll take the 4.5 point spread, hands down. And finally, the final pick of Week 1, Harvey Hot Hand.
Jaguars at Dolphins.
I'll take this one because think about the matchup. Tua Tagovailoa is 7-3 in the month of September. We know what he does when it matters the most. Coming over into Miami in the summertime, you don't want to play him generally. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Jonnu Smith, an improving offensive line. You have Tua Tagovailoa, who just got paid. He's trying to make the contract worth in and prove that he's worth the $52 or $53 million that he made this year. You have Devon Achane, who had a great season last year, shocked everybody with his talent. You have Raheem Mostert, who led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. I mean, this is great. Your defense, yes, it took a little bit of a hit when you lost Christian Wilkins, but you have to realize that you also are going up against the 26th ranked secondary. I am fearing for that Jaguars defense. I'm fearing for it, exactly. But I am trusting the Dolphins will get it done. History says that they will. They're 7-3, like I said, in the month of September. I will take the Miami Dolphins to win and cover the 3.5-point spread against the Jaguars. They win 27-21, and those are my Week 1 Harvey Hot Hand picks. Hate it, love it, indifferent. What are your opinions on my choices?
I think they're interesting. I'm not so sure about that Rams one. We'll see.
That's
Rams,
the one that I was unsure of too.
Yeah, and I got the Steelers beating the Falcons now, so we'll see what happens there.
Again, Harvey Hot Hand brought to you by Dr. Squatch. Link in the description. drsquatch.com/Nathan Harvey. $10 off orders of $20 or more. There you go. Thank you for your support of this channel. But yeah, for this episode, the Harvey Hour, we thank you so much. Game is basically, I think, within 40 minutes now, right? So there you go. Watch the Eagles-Packers. I know we picked the game. You chose the Packers. I chose the Eagles. I'm sure we'll recap that on Tuesday. We're also going to be recapping a lot of these Sunday games on Tuesday as well. A lot to talk about on Tuesday's show, and that's when we will see you. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We're your hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern to recap Week 1. Right here on YouTube.
All right, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift